Hello and welcome to my vlog. This is vlog number 003, which means it's the fourth vlog because I'm a programmer and I like to start with zeros in counting instead of one. Yeah. So welcome to my vlog. Today I wanted to talk about cues. Cues are everywhere. These read it, watch it, experience it later lists. There is a watch it later list for YouTube videos. There is a Goodreads to read library that you can fill up with books that you want to read eventually at some point somewhere. There is a read it later or whatever on Pocket, on Instapaper, on Safari. I think has a built-in version. Mozilla Firefox has a built-in version. You know, they have these cues, these lists of movies and TV shows on Netflix, on Evernote for stuff that's not on Netflix. I have MusicBee. It's like an MP3 player for desktop filled with podcasts I want to eventually listen to. These huge backlogs, you know, of things and stuff I want to do, and I never get to. I have a list of 150 video games that I want to play, and most likely I'll get to about 10 of those in my entire lifetime. It's a sad reality that we're so overrun with content, with stuff that we want to do, that we have to kind of put it on a back burner, and that back burner keeps growing and growing and growing and growing, and you become overrun with it. And it's kind of funny because about 10 years ago, I remember, maybe it wasn't 10 years, maybe it was less, but when StumbleUpon was the huge thing, the huge hit, we had too much time, too much bandwidth, too much internet bandwidth, and we spent it pressing a stupid stumble button, trying to get new content that would entertain us in some way, trying to gratify this feeling of wanting a new experience, right? And then Reddit came along, and you click images, and you can spend hours and hours on Reddit, and at some point you realize, well, this is kind of useless, and you want something useful. And this is when these cues, these lists, you know, this is where they come into play, because you feel like there's some value in all this content. There's a value of looking back at this content and seeing it again. It's not you're not looking at pictures of cats, you're looking at how-to videos that'll enrich in your life. You're looking at blog posts that are supposed to give you some kind of new insight that helps you, that changes your perspective on things. And what the problem is that this valuable content keeps growing, and your capacity to spend time on this content doesn't, right? And that's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to me. It's pretty crazy to me that we're living in an age where we kind of have to curate what do we want to experience, because there are just way too many experiences. That sounds like a little bit naive, but I mean that in terms of internet, you know. One day I decided that I wanted to learn lockpicking. There are tons of lockpicking videos, there are courses, there are not just YouTube courses, but Instructables and all kinds of things that can get me from being a novice to unlocking master level locks, as long as I have the time to do it. But I don't have the time. My Pocket lists had grown over the years to have over 300 articles, and one day I had to purge it all because it was just so stressful. My Netflix list has grown so much that most of the movies and TV shows on there are no longer licensed by Netflix, or no longer allow Netflix to play those shows. So most of it is just useless, and most of it I'm not even interested in anymore. And my Goodreads to read list is so long that I don't think I'm ever gonna, I don't even will look at it anymore. So while all of this does hold value, all of a sudden it doesn't, because it's just too much. It's overwhelming and I can't process it. So what do I do? What do I do? What do you do? What does everybody do? I think that one of the things that we kind of have to realize is that we can't handle all of it. We can't do all of it. And you know, we have to become kind of editors and curators of all this information for ourselves. The same way that an editor glances at at a query, or maybe an agent glances at a book query and they say, you know, these first two sentences of the query, or the entire query, it doesn't sound right to me. I'm not going to spend my time reading the entire manuscript. That's what we have to do. That's what we have to do. That's how we have to curate the information that flows into our brains, into our heads. It's not easy, but there are some ways of doing it. one thing that I found really useful has just been being merciless about it. If I'm not gonna watch this video, if I'm not gonna read this book, if I'm not gonna read this article today or within the next 3 months, because books, I can't really expect to read an entire book in a day. Depending on the platform, you gotta change the time range. I don't subscribe to it. I don't watch. I don't add it to my watch later list. I don't add it to my subscriptions. I don't buy the book. I don't buy the video game. With Steam sales, it's really easy to create a huge backlog because games are so cheap. But I stopped buying games, even if I have the intention of playing them. As if I'm not going to play them the next couple of months, there's no way that I'm going to buy them. And it's helped out a lot. I did that with Pocket, and honestly, with Pocket, it's the most gratifying feeling going through this list. And right now I have about 40 articles in there, 15 of those from like yesterday because I was reading an awesome post. But if I go through there and I'm like, I haven't read this I haven't had the intention of reading this in the past month, and I'm probably not going to read it next month. I just mark it off as read, or I just delete it, even if it's a great piece of content. Because if I'm gonna spend my time reading something, I need to be able to read it right away. It needs to be relevant in my life. If I haven't read it in a month and I'm not going to read it next month, it's not relevant enough for me to keep in the back of my head. And these lists are supposed to be freeing so that you don't keep thinking about it, keep coming back to it. But I keep thinking about it, keep coming back to it, because I keep wondering, when is going to be the best time to read this? When is it going to be the best time to do this kind of thing? And forgive me, I keep glancing over at my notes because I'm still getting started with vlogging and I like to have my notes ready. Maybe I'll have them on a piece of paper in front of me next time. Maybe I'm gonna have like a teleprompter right here, and you're gonna just see me glance over here. We'll see. But so that's one thing I do, just making sure that it's relevant to my life, and if it's not currently relevant, I delete it. One exception to that would be like things that I know are going to be relevant in 6 months. So let's say I'm getting started with this new hobby, and this is a very advanced topic that I've been interested in. I might put it in my bookmarks, bookmarks being kind of long-term storage. But yeah, that's one thing I do. The other thing is skim. So I might see a great blog post, and I'm like, oh man, I really want to read these 10,000 words worth of crap. Instead of doing that, I just skim through. If it's really worth reading, 5 minutes into skimming, I might actually come back and read the entire thing. If not, then I've just saved myself a lot of time. I might get into a situation where I skim through the first couple pages of an article or first minute of a video, and I'm like, this is really worth it, and I keep it in my list. But that would be another thing that I definitely would suggest. If you have a huge queue, skim over stuff. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to absorb all of it. I read a lot of tutorials in programming and on new technologies, and I realized that I can't keep up with all the newest technology, but I can definitely learn about that technology, skim over the technology, skim over blog posts describing and explaining the technology, skim over tutorials, and get a pretty clear picture of what the technology is used for and how to use it in the future and what to do about it. And if it really grabs my interest enough, or I want to use it actively, I can come back and probably find better resources than I bookmarked originally. And that brings me to my next kind of topic, and that's that, if you have 20 young adult fiction books that you want to read, and I do, and I know I'm not going to have time to read all those 20 books. I read an average of a book a month, which is not great. Less than a book a month, I would say. Which is not great. But I know that this is my pace. I need to look at those 20 books and figure out what it is that I want out of those books. One of the reasons I have so many books in my backlog is because I want to see what young adult books are about these days. I'm a writer, and this is one of my interests. So maybe one of the best things that I can do is look over those 20 books, read some reviews, spend 20 minutes researching these books, and figuring out which one is actually the best one for me to read right now. I recently did that, and I had 100 books, and I picked one book, Throne of Glass, as the best book for me to read at this point. I started reading it, and I'm like, this is exactly what I was looking for. And you're going to find that a lot. you're trying to find, you know, the best tutorial to teach you how to edit vlogs, skim, search, find the best rated stuff, and dive into only the best of the best. And that truly is what it boils down to. If you have 300 backlogged games, what are the 10 best games that you really want to read? They're representative of the majority of the games that you want to play. You're going to find a pattern. I have 10 Sonic the Hedgehog games that I want to play. And honestly, I'm probably going to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 because it's a classic and it's the best representative of the 2D version of this game. Or there's a new updated one that features like old classic levels and it's supposed to be the new classic Sonic. And fine, I'll play that, but I'm not going to play the rest of the series unless it really grabs my attention. And that's another part of curation. It's not just is it relevant, but what is the best that I can find? And spending time finding the best. You know, reading an average blog post article that's 3,000 words, you know, let's say you read, I don't know what the average speed is, so I can't tell you. Let's just say 100 words per minute. I have no idea. I have no idea whatsoever. But let's say it's 100 words per minute, so that's going to take you an average of at least 30 minutes reading a really good in-depth blog post. 30 minutes is a long time. If you have 5 articles lined up, that's 2.5 hours. So maybe spend 10 minutes figuring out which of those articles is actually worth reading, and then spend 30 minutes reading that article. And that's my advice. That's really my advice. You know, not get bogged down with cues, not get bogged down with these lists, not look at 300 movies that you want to watch because they're all classics, but look at the 2 movies that will really impact your life, change your life, and read about it and invest time into doing this research. And one of the other things I forgot to mention that I wrote down in my notes is looking for patterns. What is it that you really look for? What is it you look for in your experiences? Do you look for movies that are classics that have changed the entire genre? Maybe then you need to go back, further back, and find the real classic that influenced the most genres. And do you look for, I know I look for a lot of blog posts about new technologies, but what is it that I'm looking for from those blog posts? Am I looking for code examples? Am I looking for tutorials on how to use it? Am I looking for this versus that? No, most of the time I'm looking for this is a new technology, and this is exactly the reason why you should start using it. And this is exactly the problem that it solves. And usually that's in one blog post. So I don't need to read 15 different blog posts that describe all kinds of other stuff. I just need to read that one specific one that is the best for me. Not just the best article on technology, it might not be the best, but that satisfies this pattern of why I backlog in the first place. I backlog a lot of, let's say, articles, a lot of online books on algorithms and design patterns. And knowing that, I don't bookmark them anymore because I also know that I don't read them. I'm interested in them, but I don't read them. So there's no reason for me to backlog it because I'm never gonna get to it. And if I eventually finally sit down and I'm like, alright, I really want to learn this stuff, chances are I'm gonna find the best resource within 10 minutes, and it's gonna be the resource that I did not bookmark previously. And if I'm looking for a exciting TV show that really I want to really get into, there's so many out there right now. There's Westworld, there's Game of Thrones, there's some Code Mirror, Black Mirror, whatever, code this and that, and I don't even know all of these. And you know, what is it that I really look for? What is it that gets me into a show? In terms of, you know, looking at all of this, what is it that I really want to get into? I have to know myself. So in the end, like, these cues, what really helps you cut down on these cues and not get overwhelmed is knowing yourself really well and applying that knowledge to what you're doing already. And I'm getting a little bit off topic. I'm getting a little bit too in depth about this. And I know it sounds like a silly topic, but my lists and queues have gotten so long that it's stressful and it's crazy. And when I started cutting stuff out, it made me a lot happier because I felt like I had less to do. This is self-imposed tasks that I don't have to do, but I felt like I had less to do, and it made me feel more effective in terms of learning new things and spending time on new topics. But that's it for today's blog post. But that's it for today's vlog. You can find me on Twitter on @AntJanice. You can find me on here and subscribe below somewhere. I have no idea. And hit me up in the comments if you want to talk about anything and if you have any thoughts about this topic. Until next time.